Hey, good morning, Jacques. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm talking to Garth Brooks.
Entering his second year as the LSU head football coach.
It was the only way I could get a foot in the door.
Joined by the icon, Kim Mulkey. Hey, Coach, great to see you.
Well, Tommy Hodson was LSU's starting quarterback from 1986 through 1989, 2 SEC championships. The 1987 team went 10-1-1, finished 5th in the country, and he is in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Tommy, thanks for coming down. Great seeing you.
Thank you. Pleasure, as always.
Yeah, great to see you.
Mm-hmm.
See, the guy that snapped Tommy the ball for a long time was Nacho Albergamo. And this is kind of like Tommy's doctor's trip. He does it once a year, right? And I don't have to do it again for a year. My blood pressure's good. My blood work's good.
Yeah. You're about the only guy that really wants to talk to me anymore. So it's good to be here and good to be with you, and we always have a fun chat.
Yeah, we have a good time chatting. I know you get asked to do. He actually gets asked to do these a lot. It's not his thing, but we appreciate him coming down to chat. And now that I've buttered you up, you're 58 years old?
I'm 58, yeah. I can see the gray hair in this monitor.
Well, I tell you what, LSU football is interesting, right? You're 58 years old, and LSU football is just a 4-year window in your life. Yet, I don't want to say it defines who you are, but when people hear Tommy Hodson, that's what they think.
Yeah, and there could be worse things, I guess. If I had, a police record or something like that, that wouldn't be so good. That's I'm real proud of being part of a great university, and it was so much fun, and it meant a lot. I have a lot of memories of the 5 years I've spent here, and my kids have benefited from maybe my nieces and nephews. Just everybody's just real proud that. In my family that I played here, and I'm just grateful to LSU to give me the opportunity.
Yeah, you were on the team in '85, and I told you a while back I found some footage. I guess it was from a spring game. You were wearing 17.
That's right.
It's kind of like seeing Michael Jordan in a Wizards jersey or something. It's like 17, but your first year you were 17 before you were.
I was always 13. I was 13 in high school, and I showed up here, and Craig Rafton was fullback, and he wore 13. And then he ended up having like a medical issue and couldn't play. So when my second year, I said, well, can I have 13? And Jeff Boss, the equipment manager at the time, said, sure. That's how I ended up with 13 again.
And you and I talking about this, between the time you played and to Garrett, I think you're the only two guys in that window of 40 years who have worn that number at quarterback. I can't think of anybody else.
I can't think of anybody else either. Now, there may have been a backup somewhere along the way, but a guy that's actually played, been on the field, I can't remember now, 13.
Yeah, and Garrett's father, Doug, very well. You were teammates with the Saints in the 90s.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people know that in LSU football, around here, that Doug and I actually played together for 2 years, and I asked him for permission to tell this story. So when Doug was a young man, he used a lot of profanity, and I was on my high horse one day, and I said, Doug, you know why you cuss a lot? He called me hot sauce. He goes, no, why hot sauce? I said, because you're dumb. You don't know the language. You don't know adverbs and adjectives. You don't know how to use the language. And he thought about it for a second. He goes, "F you, hot sauce." And I said, now there's the correct use of the word. But we had a lot of fun. Doug and I were there with Jim Everett was the other quarterback, and Jim was the starter, and then Carl Smith was the offensive coordinator. And so for 2 years, I think I really enjoyed going to work for 2 years. Carl made it so much fun, and we had a nice group, Doug, Jim, and I, and we all got along well. And it was a lot of fun driving to New Orleans every day and being part of the Saints, a team that I grew up with. Yeah.
That was the end of Jim Mora.
Coach Mora ended up getting fired halfway through the year of my second year there. So that was the end of his tenure.
Well, he walked out, right? He wasn't fired.
I don't know.
Weren't winning enough. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Then Rick Venturi came in, right?
Yeah, that was interesting. Interesting times there. He was an interesting character. I've seen a lot of the bad side of pro football. I was never on a whole lot of good teams. So you see some hiring, firing, people going and leaving. I played 6 years in the NFL, and that was the second time a coach had left mid-season. My rookie year, it happened up in New England. So I was thinking maybe I'm the common denominator.
Well, yeah, you were drafted by the Patriots, and they were dreadful, right, at the time. And there's no free agency, so there's no quick fix, right? You're kind of
they had Plan B. Well, most people, you'd have to be an NFL fan to remember what Plan B was. It was the introduction to what we know as free agency now. But they let like the 5 worst players go in free agency, and they're like, "Good luck, go find as much as you can." But that was the introductory, it's kind of the beginning of free agency, and I think that was around early '90s when that started happening.
Well, I never really talked to you much about your pro career, but you were like teammates with Dan Marino and people like that. There are worse ways to make a living.
Yeah. I always tell people, I said, look. I said, we all think, I'm the only person with self-esteem issues. I'm struggling in life a little bit. So I show up to, I was in Miami at the time, and I was a journeyman. They picked me up because he got hurt. And then Scott Mitchell came in and was having, like, great games. He was throwing for 300 a game. And all the sports writers in Miami were writing Dan off. He's done. Here's the Scott's the heir apparent, whatever. And I never forget this. I'm playing for $10,000 that week, and I don't know if I'm gonna be there the next week. And Dan Marino, everybody's going in the locker room. I don't have a ride home, and he comes out and he's getting some treatment on his ankle, and he started boo-hooing about how everybody's writing him off and he's done with. And I looked at him. And all I could think was like, he's making $250,000 this week. I'm making 10, and you worried about like what sports writers are talking about?
Right.
I said, you done lost your mind, man.
And as you're sitting here, another one of my heroes there from the late '80s. I've always wanted to ask him, but I haven't. But Ricky Blanton was teammates with Michael Jordan for just a small window of time there. Yeah. I just wonder what that's like. I don't know if Ricky Blanton, I know I did. Every kid had a poster of Michael Jordan on their wall, leaping from the free throw line. What's it like when you're now at practice with this guy? Do you just stare at him? I mean, how do you?
Well, Dan Marino could throw it like nobody's business. I mean, this guy could really throw it, and just grew up, admiring him, and a great player, great player. He could really thread the needle. I've been lucky, blessed my whole life. I grew up in Lockport, Louisiana, 2,000 people. I've had an opportunity to be around some real great stars. Dan Marino being one of them. I've met Joe Montana and spent some time with him. John Elway. I've actually played golf with Michael Jordan. And the thing that really stands out is, when they walk into, a public event, of course everybody's gonna think they're great and kind of bow down to them. But when they walk into an event with a group of their peers, their peers bow down to them. I remember Michael Jordan walking in, and Charles Barkley was there, and Charles Barkley kind of was, I know my place. I'm the prince. Here's the king. Those special people, like I think about women's athletics when Pat Summitt walked in the room, or Kim Mulkey. It's like. Everyone's at attention. So Garrett wears 13, and so just real quick, this kind of puts me in perspective. So you're 10 years older than me, but when you're 10 and someone's 20, that seems like an adult, right? Yeah. It's not a kid. Mm-hmm. And so I see you. So there at church, Tommy and I go to the same church. So I see Tommy a few pews behind me. And then a few pews behind me is Nussmeier, and here's my childhood and then my adult, all kind of, but yet the same age at LSU. And, Nussmeier after Mass says, yes, sir, no, sir, to me like that. It kind of makes me realize how old I am. That's right. He does the same to me, too.
But he knows who you are.
He does. We've met before. We've met a couple of times. Like I say, I've played with Doug 30 years ago, and Doug and I have kept in touch, and Doug has had a great coaching career. He's been very successful. I think he's got a national championship at Alabama. He was the offensive coordinator there.
Super Bowl just with the Eagles?
Yeah, Super Bowl with the Eagles. So it's a very accomplished career. So when I finished my career, I would give private quarterback lessons, and here in town, locally in Louisiana. And so Doug is doing this thing. So I said, Doug, I said, Doug, give me like a tip or something I could tell these young kids, these young quarterbacks growing up. He said, "Oh, hot sauce. All you got to do is tell them to wipe the windshield and flick the booger."
Booger?
I was like, "What?" Yeah. I was like, "Flip the booger." I'm pretty sure they hadn't heard that before. Okay, I'll go with it. But yeah, white.
And he's got a distinct voice too. It's kind of he's kind of this
yeah,
raspy. He sounds nothing like Garrett. Like Garrett when he speaks.
Yeah. Well, they don't play alike. Doug and Garrett don't play alike. So I always think, and we like this as parents. I think we find a weakness in our game, and we're going to make sure our kids don't have that same weakness. Yeah, so we're going to teach them. So I would say Garrett's one of the better throwers I've seen in college football in a long time. I mean, he's very accurate, and he's a great thrower. Doug was more of a runner and a pretty good thrower. I think Garrett's a great thrower, and Doug probably doesn't let Garrett run. He probably can run, but he probably taught him, said, "Son, this is not how you make it in the NFL. You got to be a pocket passer. You got to win from the pocket." So I know a lot of LSU fans would like to see Garrett probably run a little more. I would bet, and I never talked to Doug about this. Doug probably said, "No, son, you're not going to run. You're going to learn how to throw it."
Yeah. Well, I didn't walk away from last year saying the reason LSU didn't reach their goals is because Garrett Nussmeier didn't run enough. Yeah. Now, I think there's some talk about, well, if the guy never pulls it on the RPO, then the defense doesn't respect him, so you got to run it a little bit.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need to get hurt.
No. And we need to protect him better. I don't think we protected him that well last year, especially from the Florida game on.
He got sacked like 7 times in that game?
Yeah, and then after that, I think people sort of figured us out a little bit on offense. So, but it'll be a different story this year. I really, I think the world of Coach Kelly, and I think they'll plug in the holes that they had last year and come out with a much better product this year.
Now, as we're sitting here, Tommy is still LSU's all-time career-leading passer, 9,115 yards. I'm sure you're like Kevin Falk, who is still LSU's all-time leading rusher. Well, guys don't play 4 years these days, and blah blah blah. But Garrett needs 3,352 yards to catch you, and that'd be 279 a game in 12 games. So he's got a decent chance of doing that. Do you even know that you're still the leader?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, look. I try to be as humble as I can, but I'm tickled to death. I'm the LSU's all-time leading passer, yardage-wise.
Yeah. And as crazy as it was, I was doing some math in 2019. I'm like, can Joe Burrow catch Hodson in 2 years? Mm-hmm. He finished with 8,655. He did throw more touchdowns than you, 76 to your 69. Now, obviously, different era of offense and whatnot, but to throw 60 touchdowns in 1 year is...
Yeah. Well, you and I were talking before. He had 16 touchdown passes going into his senior year. If somebody had asked me if he was going to be able to catch my touchdown record, I would say, "Hey, are you out of your mind?" And so then he threw for 60 touchdowns in one season, which is, I mean, it took me 4 years to do that.
Yeah, 4 years as a starter, and you were all SEC all 4 years, I believe. Some more about Nussmeier, just as he goes into this year. Has waited his turn, right? Has been at the same school for 5 years. Very accurate. He doesn't like the term gunslinger, but he's got some of that in him, right? Some Brett Favre, where there might be a little risk reward there going on with him. So with these receivers he's got, and you've got a life, I don't. So I've been at practice all the time, and he's got like 8 receivers, and then you throw in a Trades Green at tight end and Bauer Sharp. I mean, they've got a lot of weapons for him to throw to.
Well, I think that's good. So if you look back to 2019, I guess that's the Joe Burrow year. You look at all the weapons they had. It's up to the quarterback to use your weapons. So when I played, I pretty much I was going to throw it to Wendell Davis or Tony Moss. I had one receiver, couldn't get to the second guy, kind of thing. But if you learn to use your all your personnel, and you can spread the ball out, it's just you're such a big threat, and that way you're not putting the ball to chance. You're gonna have less turnovers because you're not trying to fit it into your favorite guy.
Yeah.
If you find the right guy to throw it to, it lessens the chance of you turning the ball over.
Yeah, and as your career went on, obviously Eddie Fuller was a great wide receiver.
running back.
Running back who was a receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the backfield, obviously the earthquake game, which I guess I must bring up in this chat today. And then Brian Kinchin, who was always open at tight end, he told me, he said, Ohio State, why don't you throw me the ball, right? But yeah, and then you had Sammy Martin. Harvey Williams said, fastest white boy he had ever seen in his life.
Yeah, absolutely. Sammy was fast, yes.
Yeah, so Raji McGee, right, number 80?
Roger McGee. Now, these guys kind of all some of them were older, some of them were younger, so I didn't graduate. Like Raji and Wendell were the first, were my wide receivers my first 2 years, and then it was like Alvin Lee and Ty Kinchin. Well, Brian was on the first 2 years, so I kind of had first two, last two. My career was kind of split up between personnel.
Yeah. One day we were talking about Drew Brees in New Orleans. He was the guy for 15 years, and how many times did they rotate like 5 wide receivers? I mean, he had played with a group, like 3 different groups of guys through his career,
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, utilize your weapons, protect him. That's important. Let's just go back. So you're coming out of Central Lafourche High School. You're a basketball star, right? Aren't you averaging like 27 points?
A basketball player. I don't know about a star, but
you got recruited. Didn't you got offers, right? Scholarship offers?
I did. I like shoot a lot. Yeah. I had a a nice average. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but football, you were very thin, right? I mean, what did you weigh coming on?
I was 165 pounds, which most people cannot believe, but and I wish I could kind of get back to that weight. I feel a little heavy now. But yeah, so I was super thin, but I loved to play basketball. And we didn't have weight training back in those days. So I just was pretty much just here's a sport, go play it, and then here's the next season, go play that one, and just I never took any time off. But anyway, I gained weight when I was at LSU.
So 85, you redshirt. That's Wickersham, Jeff Wickersham's playing that year.
Mm-hmm.
That's that god-awful Liberty Bowl, right?
Oh, yes, pathetic.
The worst bowl experience.
Yeah. It was the worst of all time.
Yeah, something like they had to go to the Circle K to get food.
We didn't have Christmas. We had to stay there for Christmas, and we didn't have a Christmas dinner. Well, there was a battle there between Bob Broadhead, who was the athletic director, and Bill Orensberger was the head coach. And Bill, the head coach, wanted us to go to the bowl game in Hawaii, whatever they call that game. And it was a bigger payday for LSU to go to the Liberty Bowl. So he said, okay, well, I'll just give. Bill said, okay, well, I'll just give every player. I'll give them all their per diem. We're not having any meals, whatever. I'm going to give them as much like paraphernalia and cash as I could give them.
Yeah. Well, Chris Carrier he told me about, like, I was supposed to practice and you're locked out of the stadium and it's freezing cold.
It was 1 degree, and we would practice. It was 1 degree in Memphis. We practiced. Jeff Wickersham the night before he put me in a headlock and drug my head across the carpet in the hotel. I had a brush burn. Right here. I had to put a helmet on at 1 degree. I was, oh man, this is awful.
This was my dream to come to LSU, and look what we're doing here. 1 punt return for a touchdown. That was it, right? The team was in a deep freeze. That was a terrible.
Yeah, I guess that was Norman Jefferson.
Norman Jefferson.
Yeah, he can. Well, you talk about one of the great all-time LSU punt returns. LSU's had some great punt returns, and I don't think LSU gets enough credit for all the punt returns that we've had. I mean, if you look at Skylar Green and Todd Kinchin and Norman Jefferson and gosh, I'm missing
Tyrann Mathieu. I kind of forgot about that. He ran back clutch because of all the other stuff he did.
Even Falk, Kevin Falk.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kevin.
all of them. Yeah, they're all, man, we've had some great punt returners.
In recent years, they have not.
We have not. But
we need to fix that.
Yeah, but about 10 years ago, the Honey Badger, I guess was the last great one we had. But before then, it seemed like every year LSU had a good punt return.
Yeah, I remember. I'm just. DJ Chark took one back against Auburn, I remember. But yeah, you think of all the athletes on that team. Mm-hmm. It's been they're trying to marry, okay, you got to catch it first, which is a tough gig when they're all coming down to kill you. Yeah. And then you got to run with it. And so they've had trouble finding a guy that can do both. So there's a lot of fair catching and safety. Of course, when Burrow and Jaden Daniels are running the QB, we can take it at the 1 and we'll be okay.
Yeah, you don't need just get me the ball. Don't turn it over, just give me the ball.
So in 85, okay, you redshirt. So in 86, when do you find out you're going to start against Texas A&M on ESPN?
I guess the week before. 10 days before, I guess.
Yeah, that's you and Mickey fighting
Mickey
it out?
and Doug Powell.
Okay.
It was Mickey Guidry, Doug Powell, and myself. And we battled in the spring and then, through the summer and then through camp. And then I guess, I don't know, a week out.
What is fall camp like in 1986?
Hot.
But it's 2-a-days, right?
It is 3 days, a lot of times. But yeah, full pads. It's hot. They didn't take care of us like they did take care of the kids now. It's way better now. It's better health wise. We had guys passing out, but I don't remember. Guys didn't shoot. They have guys die now. We didn't have. I guess guys were smaller. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they try to do their best. We had some great. John Purdy, who just got inducted into like a trainers Hall of Fame. He was the assistant trainer, and Doc Anderson, he was the head trainer. And they in the student trainers were all great. I just have so many fond memories. The stories, them taping our ankles and taking care. They took good care of us. And Jeff Boss, the equipment manager, and their staff, they always make sure our equipment was fitted properly and our shoes were nice. And it's just it was really good. It was nowadays there's so much money in sports and college sports especially. LSU, they get whatever the food that they get, the stuff that they wear, and we had like a couple of T-shirts, and we had to turn in our sock. I mean, they were watching everything we had. The budget wasn't as big, but it was great. I got so many great memories. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. I think Jason Williams, who played baseball for LSU, said Skip would give us this itchy, scratchy, gray T-shirt in the fall, and then he'd take it back.
Take it back, yeah.
And now these guys have 15 pairs of shoes and Under Armour stuff left and right.
Mm-hmm.
So 3-a-days. So what? We're practicing like at night,
like a little night walkthrough or something like that.
Yeah,
just meetings. It's just all day affair.
I mean, you're young and in the prime of your youth, but you're still passing out, like getting sleep. I mean, when you're not on the field, you're taking naps or
trying to.
Just stay hydrated and
stay clean and get rested. Yeah.
Did they give you water like they should have?
Oh yeah. They did back then. They used to. Gosh.
We used to
take a break. Yeah, we used to take a break. No, that was my dad back when he was coaching way back in the day.
Yeah.
They give us these cool pops.
Right.
We'd go underneath the shed and they'd give us a cool pop. That was one of the ways to cool us down.
Brian Kinchin told me, because he played for Stovall at one point, and said that Stovall had like a stopwatch or something, and said, they felt like they'd been out there for 3 hours. Well, Brian, how much do you think you really ran today? Or how 4 minutes and 45 seconds, like, just a small amount of time where you were actually running and whatever. That might be exaggerated a tad, but it was rough. I mean, I'm sure there were times where you ran off the field on an October night in a cool breeze and you win a game. You're like, I paid my dues to get here.
Well, again, I don't want to make it your audience think that I was a quarterback. We're not that tough. It was pretty glamorous, so it's not like it was,
They weren't hitting you at practice, right?
No. They don't let them guys touch the quarterback.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Right.
I wouldn't be here. I tell you, I was $165. I guarantee I wouldn't be here today.
So, your first game, you're going into Tiger Stadium. Texas A&M is ranked in the top 10. Tiger Stadium at the time was 80,000 people. This is ESPN, and I believe your first 3 passes were nowhere near the mark, right?
Not even close. I was so nervous. I can remember getting off. I think I was most nervous when we'd stay off campus, so we'd take buses into campus, and they dropped. We didn't do the walk like they do now down the hill, so they dropped us right outside. And the people outside the locker room, when I got off of that bus, I really thought I was going to pass out. I was so nervous. And then, that was a couple hours before game time. And game starts. I think we get the ball first. And like I said, first 3 passes, first, second, third down, incomplete, and not even close. And I just remember going to the sideline. Coach Z said, "Okay, are you good? You ready?" Yeah. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I feel good." And then I think we rattled off a bunch of completions after that, and kind of got my feet wet and got accustomed to college football and playing in front of 80,000 people.
Yeah. Does it? I don't want to say it becomes like high school again, but it just becomes the game you've always played.
I think it is like that, and I used to say that, and people would get so mad at me for saying that. I was like, well, the football field's the same size, whether you're playing in 7th grade or you're playing in the NFL. This is just the same field, same measurements. If you want to be good, you have to learn to block out, everything. You have to block out the noise and concentrate and focus on what you're supposed to do. Now the players get better, the competition gets better, but the game's still the same. You still have to make the same decisions, and the game clock's still the same. First down, still 10 yards to get a first down. Everything's the same. You just have to block out. The bigger the stage gets, the more you have to block out, and I think the good ones do it best.
Yeah. That night you start hitting Wendell Davis, and what made the connection special with 82 there? Because
Wendell was a hard worker, and he had tremendous separation out of the break. He wasn't a super speedy guy. He wasn't slow, but great hands, caught everything, worked on it, and they manned up. They blitzed a lot my first 2 years, 86, 87. That was Wendell's 86. That was his junior and senior year. So they sing on him up most of the time. So it became a game of pitch and catch. And the two of us put a lot of time in the off season, put a lot of time in during the season, before and after practice. And we just seemed to have a connection. I kind of knew what his out route looks like, what his little skinny posts look like, slants. And I knew what his routes looked like and how he was going to run them. If cornerback jumped on this side, if he was running a corner route in the red zone, I knew if he was going to take it high or bend it in shallow. So we just had a good feel.
In your last game together, thank God there was no opting out back in 1987, but two top 10 teams are in the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida, and speaking of blitzing, those guys were coming after you. Mm-hmm. And you got out to Wendell, and it was over. Caught three touchdowns.
They played right into our hands. The vaunted, I think it was called Black Death, and they had a great defense and put up some good numbers statistically during the year against good teams. But that's what we were kind of set up to beat the blitz, and they singled him up, and Wendell just was running free most of the day. Yeah.
Rewind a little bit. 86, you win the SEC. Arnsparger shocks everyone, right? We went over it, but it's hard to believe that during fall camp of 86, the head football coach of LSU flies to Gainesville to talk to them. I just talked to him, like interview or whatever that was. Mm-hmm. And then by the end of the year, I think it was after you beat Tulane, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That you find out that Arnsparger's leaving to go to Florida. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, you need a new head coach, and Archer was who you guys wanted.
Yeah. Well, it worked out good for me because I was the starter, and I wanted the system to sort of stay the same. But in football, and I guess I didn't really even think about it as a 19, 20-year-old. But now that I've been around, and I love professional football. I love the business side of it. And, players, we all want to win, but most players want to do what's best for them too. And coaches, I can't blame them either. You sort of have to make the money when you can. And Coach Arnsparger was getting older, and he wanted to bounce around. I'm sure maybe being the athletic director at Florida was a good thing for him. So I don't blame him for doing it, and everybody just thought that was just wild and crazy. But I was like, man, it's just a business. This is I wasn't a business person at the time, but I understand it a whole lot better now.
Yeah. Well, and he was a great coach, and he had a great legacy with the Dolphins and all that.
Yeah, and I ended up it's just how you bounce around and how you reconnect with people. So he ended up as a defensive coordinator for the Chargers, and the Chargers came to Smithfield, Rhode Island, is where we trained in New England, and the Chargers came for 2 or 3 days, and he was defensive coordinator, and I was a quarterback. So I got to visit with him. I just had finished playing for him, 3 or 4 years before, and then I got to catch up with him, and he recruited me to come here. So it was good to run into him.
Yeah. Well, he was only in his 50s at LSU. He just looked older than that, didn't he?
well, I'm coming up on 60 now.
Yeah.
And so I used to think people that was 60 were almost dead. I mean, it's like, man, they're a walking corpse. And I'm like, well, I'm 2 years away from 60 now. So I don't think I look terrible, but but I'm not fishing for a compliment. I'm just saying that 60. Wow, I cannot believe I'm almost 60 years old.
Well, I don't know if it makes you feel better, Tom Hodson, but you remember the movie Cocoon, right? With these
In
old
the background, it wasn't a cameo appearance. They just showed us.
The movie Cocoon, like in 85, Wilford Brimley and all these people that were old at the time.
Oh, that movie. Okay,
Yeah. They get in the pool and they feel young again.
Yeah.
Well, the actors in that movie were like 56, 50. Now, Tom Cruise is like in his 60s and still doing his own stunts and Highway to the Danger Zone, Top Gun, and all that. So we're aging differently.
Yeah.
I'm just making us feel better. You know, Archie Bunker. You know how old he looked? He was like 45 in that show.
Oh my gosh! Don't even tell me that.
Okay. How do I round back? All right. So 87 special group of guys. You go 10-1-1. You're kind of that close to maybe being in a national championship. So forth.
Great team. A lot of good players, senior leadership, good young players. Had a nice mix of, well-coached team. And, gosh, there's so many. There's not so many, but there's things. I always remember the bad plays. I don't remember the good plays that much anymore.
Well, Saban says, I remember the losses, not the wins.
Yeah, it's just, that Ohio State game. We were so much better than Ohio State that year. And, I throw the pick at the Wendell and I had a little miscommunication, and I ended up throwing the pick there, and because we're going to win the game if we score a touchdown. Even if we kick a field goal, we're going to probably win the game. And I just had that back, had that game back, and then so that was the tie, and then the loss,
Alabama
to Alabama at home. I mean, we were better than them too. I didn't, it's the only game I didn't start as in my career.
You were hurt,
and I came in late and threw a couple picks and didn't do any good. But then Mickey was the quarterback, and we kind of tied Mickey's hands, I think, didn't let him really play ball, and we just played it too close to the cuff, and what a year it could have been because we had such a good team. But just that one game against Alabama and just maybe one pass against Ohio State, and it's a different outcome of that season.
Yeah, because that was I don't want to say that's the biggest game you played in, but I just remember the hype around that game early in the year, LSU, Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
Both in the top 5 or something like that. CBS was there. It was a day game.
Yeah.
Brent Musburger on the call. Mm-hmm. Ohio State wouldn't run out on the field. There was a standoff. Andelsek, the late Andelsek and Spielman.
Chris Spielman. And they ended up being best friends. They both played for Detroit. They played for the Lions in the same draft class, and they had a stare off at midfield, and two tough guys in college football at the time, and they ended up being best of buds. And a couple years later in Detroit. Yeah,
I think T-Bob the other day, they might have been talking about that game, and he was like, "A tie? What? The tie?" Like there's some people have never seen one.
I know you shouldn't. I don't know whoever thought that up. That was terrible.
But it was funny. The next week was the first LSU game I ever attended. You played Florida, and the next week when you got close, you were kicking the field goal. There was no risk in it, right? You won 13-10. Yeah,
I have no idea. Was that Florida?
In Florida, Emmitt Smith.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, it's 13-10. Like it was 13-13 tie Ohio State. Next week 13-10. You beat Florida, but
you got a cheat sheet there.
I have. These are called media guides, and they stopped making these. Everything's online now. I think this is printed from a couple years back, but nothing has changed.
Yeah.
From those years. All right, so when you walk into Tiger Stadium now, there's a picture of Garth Brooks from playing his concert, and then there's a picture of Eddie Fuller going up to catch the pass. So, Tommy Hodson is like, Aerosmith, Journey. He's had a whole lot of hits, but some people think he's a one-hit wonder because of this one game here, this one pass.
That's right.
But I think I read something you said, it was a big deal at the time. It was a very big deal, but it has become such a bigger deal in the 37 years since.
Yeah, 37 years. Yeah, it's been a long time. I think we were coming off of 2 losses,
Yep.
and we needed to beat Auburn. So it's like, oh gosh, we got the 4th ranked team in the country coming in to play us, and we need to win. And we hadn't found our footing really in our offense. You know, people we talked earlier were blitzing us in '86 and '87, and then they started playing too deep in a lot of zone in '88 and '89. And our offense, we didn't. I don't think we saw it coming, and so it took us a little while to adjust to do it. So it was a struggle offensively, and I struggled my junior year, and so that was tough. Great defense Auburn had, and a lot of who's who, you know, in college football at the time, on their defensive side of football, and hard-fought game, and just, you know, our team, we're just so lucky our defense kept us in the whole game, and that our offense was able to put something together on that last drive and come up with a part of LSU history. And I know our team is real proud that we're part of LSU's history.
Well, the late Ruffin Rodrigue told me that he was the only person that actually felt the earthquake because he hit the deck a split second before you threw that pass. I think Tracy Rocker was bowling him over or something. He said, I'm laying on the ground. I felt the earth shake. I guess we scored.
Yeah, Ruffin never let the truth stand in the way of a good story.
But he did say that that was probably the best defense you guys had ever gone up
They
against.
were. And if you look at them now, it's like we could probably throw for 500 yards against them. Everybody had a neck roll. Everybody was set up, you know, linebacker. Everybody stacked on line of scrimmage. And who thinks that you just hand it off and you just run into the line? It's like a scrum. It's like they don't do that now. That's because they're smarter. We're a bunch of idiots, you know.
Somebody came along and said,
Let's just throw it. Let's just throw it over top of them. I'm like, it sounds like a good idea.
Like Verge says, and then look, let's give the defense credit. Verge Osbury and the defense, they're hanging on for dear life. If it's 9-0 or
it's no chance.
There's no chance. So they keep it a 1-score game the whole time. You talk about punt returners. I remember watching the replay with you years back. Greg Jackson called for a fair catch and fell down. You said, what a great punt return by Greg Jackson, who was really good on defense. And
he was great. Greg Jackson's one of great all-time LSU strong safeties and really in LSU history. Great player. Played for the Chargers. I think it was a 3rd-round pick. He and I ended up playing together in New Orleans. I think it was my last, like in '96. But it was great to be there again with him as a teammate because he's a super guy.
Mississippi State late that year, pick 6 for 101 yards, I think it was. Took it back in Starkville. But so you go. There are several big completions on the drive. There's like a 3rd and 5. You hit Moss across the middle. 4th and 5, Willie Williams.
4th and 9.
4th and 9. That's right.
Yeah, because Willie was 5 yards tall. He was 6'7". I think they blew a coverage, actually. I think they rushed the guy that should have been dropping in that zone, so Willie catches it. Willie was the backup tight end. Ronnie Halliburton was the starter. And Willie was in there on that 4th and 9 to keep the drive alive. He catches it, 4 or 5 yards short of the first down marker and reaches the ball out and keeps the drive alive. We get 1st and 10.
Yeah. And then the next play is Fuller across the middle. It's up here, and he can't catch it. It goes through his hands.
He caught it with 1 foot out the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
So he did catch it, but he had 1 foot out the
There was
back
a drop at the goal line.
There was a drop earlier in the drive. He says it was a drop. I say it was a high pass. I don't know. we both take the blame for the incompletion.
Well, you just got to set up the drama, Tommy.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Who wants to catch it then?
I'm glad it all worked out the way it did. But he catches the 1st and 10, 1 foot out of the back of the end zone, and so then we have 2nd and 3rd down, and we run on whatever crossing routes and didn't work out. And then the 4th down was the same play as the first down.
Well, the great Mike Patrick, I think, just recently passed away. But 4th down, 10 yards to go, 1:47 to go in the game. LSU wins or loses on this play, it would appear. Mm-hmm. That's how you set it up. Mm-hmm. Touchdown Fuller, holy cow. I don't think I'm overstating it. I mean, Warren Morris home run, I know that's to win a national championship. I wasn't alive for Billy Cannon run, but there are certain moments where you remember where you were at and everything, and I think Earthquake game is there. People remember him catching that pass from you.
Well, I'm sure you were at that age where those are your formative years, and you were just learning to like LSU. So it's probably a great memory for you, and you can have a disagreement with all the LSU fans. I like to think it was a great part of LSU history, and it's one of 10 or 15 great plays of all time. Now, baseball is great and basketball is great, but LSU's a football school. I hate to say it, or used to be. Maybe it's a baseball school now. So they have such a good program. Yeah. But I would much rather catch a touchdown pass in Tiger Stadium or throw one than hit a home run in the baseball. And no disrespect to baseball players, but I would rather be a football player.
Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator, he's wearing a LSU baseball cap now in his press conferences. But what a great moment. Did the earthquake? Did the earth shake, Tommy, or just did you hear the crowd noise, or you were down on the ground getting up and there's that shot of you? You put your hands up. Mm-hmm. You're totally exhausted, right?
Yeah. Well. And I think we may have talked about this before. The students at the time were not particularly kind to me. They were booing during most of the game, so I was not pleased with the student section. Most of the LSU fans are all great.
Are they booing you? Or are they booing the offense? Are they booing the play calling?
I took it personally.
Booing is always ambiguous a little bit, right?
Yeah, but when you're 22 years old and you hear all these booing, I hear all this booing, you're just like, I don't really like it. We didn't like it, I can promise you.
Sure.
So I don't know how excited I was after we hit throwing a touchdown pass. It's almost like, that was for me and my teammates. That wasn't for you.
Right, because I've heard the booing the previous 58 minutes or whatever the case may be.
That was for us, not for you.
Yeah. Well, how do you – today it's even harder, right? I mean, did you like attention? Did you realize that by being the starting quarterback of LSU, and let's be honest, you had Hollywood good looks and everything. I mean, you were a star. You're out there. Were you ready for all that?
No, I couldn't have been. I grew up in a town of 2,000 people, in a little small town. So I was not ready for all the stuff that came with being the LSU quarterback, but I sure liked it.
Okay, all right. So you can't, I would say the Tony Montana, you can't take in all the positive, and then so how do you balance out, like, okay, these fans, they cheer me, they love me. I've been on magazine covers when there's no internet, right? I mean, you're on the front of Athlon magazine and Tiger Rag and all this stuff, and a lot of 13 jerseys being sold that you never saw a cent from in the pre-NIL era and everything. But you're walking around on campus and everything. I mean, Burrow, he didn't walk around on campus. He took all his classes online and everything. How do you handle being big man on campus?
And I just hopefully my parents, my dad played basketball, was a coach, and my mom is we do small town folks, and I grew up Catholic, and I think my religious background, being my background in Catholicism, teaches you to be humble. I think the way my parents raised me, I know I got too big for my britches. My dad would cut me off on the knees real quick, So hopefully, I handled it well while I was in college. I'm sure I did some things that, that weren't so great, but I hope I handled it well, and I got to, credit my parents in the way they raised me.
Yeah. How did you avoid the pitfalls? Because I'm sure there were a lot of temptations for you to go down, paths that would have led you astray.
Who said I didn't go down those paths?
Back in 1987,
So thank God,
no internet, no cell phones.
Thank God there was no cell phones, and I had good teammates and good friends, and not to say I didn't get in a couple of jams here and there, but for the most part, we just had good, wholesome fun in college, and it was a lot of. Oh gosh, I have so many great memories of the 5 years I spent at LSU and the people I met, and just I don't know. It didn't seem like there there were guns and shootings and all, there was that kind of stuff back then. It was, I guess, it's probably easier time than it is now.
There was a story of Eric Hill riding on a horse in the Tigerland. Did that happen?
I don't know if it was
limitations have worn out.
I don't know if it was a horse, but Eric Hill he was one tough dude. That guy, you didn't want to mess with Eric Hill.
Yeah.
He could do some bodily damage if he wanted to. But he's a good guy off the field.
Yeah. Sells cars now, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think he sold his dealership.
Okay.
I think he's like in the boat business or something like that.
Well, like in the like you said about Ruffin, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. I mean, I heard stories that Eric Hill like whipped 15 guys at one time, or 10 or something like that.
Well, it was probably more like 5.
Five, okay.
He could. Eric Hill could.
Do you worry about the mental health of the current quarterback with Twitter and Facebook, where people can really reach out now? And if you start looking at this stuff, hey Hodson, you suck. If you read this and everything, now on the other side of it, they're getting paid now. So some people say, well, they're kind of pro athletes, but when you're 18 years old, are you ready for all that?
I don't think so. But they've grown up in that social media world, so they're a lot more prepared than you or I was back in those days. I used to, during football season, I wouldn't read the paper or watch the news. I just kind of tune that out. Every person's different. Some people thrive on the negative publicity. Some people need to be treated well and petted and groomed and all that stuff. But it's everybody's own personality and what works for them.
Yeah. Well, you talk about petted and groomed. You told me once that you thought it was embarrassing to lay on the ground.
Oh gosh!
If you got hit.
I just can't. The trainers tell you and the coaches say we got to lay there to let the backup warm up to get in. I was like, man, it's so embarrassing. And to have, I played with Irvin Fryer, who was a great pro. He played 17 years. He was number 1 pick in 1984. He played Nebraska, and I played with him in New England. He would lay on the ground on purpose, and they'd go out. The guys like, Irvin, you all right? Yeah, man, I'm just letting the fans worry a little bit about me. And then he'd get off the field and he'd come right. It was all part of the theatrics to him, and he just wanted to hear the crowd cheer when he was dead, and he's Lazarus. He's back to life. He's on the field.
It's the soccer thing too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, eventually it's the boy who cried wolf, but it's amazing how many times the wide receiver, after he drops a pass, lays on the ground. Oh, he's hurt. That's why he dropped it.
Yeah, he's got a concussion.
He's got a concussion. But one of your great tales was '86 when you bit through your tongue at Kentucky, right?
Yeah,
this was like the toughness of Tommy Hodson at quarterback.
Yeah, when you're a buck, 75 at the time, and then everybody's questioning can he make it through a season in the SEC? And I was a freshman, and I wasn't solidified as a starter. This was 5th, 6th game, something like that. It was still up in the air whether I was gonna be the starter, and so I bit through my tongue there, and ended up having stitches in my tongue, and coming back into the game and leading the team on a couple of touchdown drives, and we won the game against Kentucky over there. And my teammates, I think I earned the respect of my teammates. Had that happened now, because I had a concussion then too, I'm pretty sure I had a concussion, then I probably, had it happened in today's game, they wouldn't have let me go back on the field. So, I might have brain damage. Some people tell me I do, but I'm glad it happened that way, and it sort of was part of my career. That was the next thing I needed to show my toughness, and I think I did.
Yeah. Well, you seem to be pretty coherent, and as you've always been. But no issues after playing, wake up in the middle of the night. Oh God, this hurts, that hurts.
I tell people sometimes when my air conditioner is a little too high in my car, I hit the radio button. So I'm like, I'm trying to turn down the radio while the air conditioner's too high. That's the only thing I notice.
Good stuff, man. Well, I appreciate you coming down. Was there anything else I should have talked about that I didn't talk about? You're excited. Does this time of year mean anything to you when the season's getting close? I mean, you hadn't played in forever, but juices get going or anything?
Not at all. The one thing I do like, and I I rarely watch a game in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
It's always on. I'll have a game on, and I'm a big NFL fan. Now I won't watch a whole NFL game either, but I love having it on in the background, and I love like customers and friends and family. Everybody has something to talk about now. When football starts, it seems the lull the couple months before, LSU wins the national championship in baseball.
Yeah.
From there to the start of football season, it's just dead. Nothing to talk about. So it's always good for football to be in the air and people getting excited. And so I get excited when other people are excited about it.
Yeah. And you're like a lot of people, hey, my refrigerator's here, my bathroom's here, my couch is here. I don't feel like fighting all that stuff today.
The traffic and the getting in, getting out. It's so hot. It is so hot. I've played golf the last couple of times I played. I feel like a camel most of the time. Heat doesn't bother me, and drinking water, not a problem. All I said, I felt woozy the last time. I was like, gosh, I'm either getting old or it's getting hotter. I don't know what to do. I just can't handle the heat like I used to be able to.
I was in a scramble the other day, and they were talking about years past, tournaments, whatever, and somebody said, yeah, Hodson had that hole-in-one. Remember that? Blah, blah, blah. So you've had more than one, or how many hole-in-ones have you had in your?
I've had six hole-in-ones.
No way.
But the coolest thing, I've had six hole-in-ones. I played a lot of golf, but the coolest thing about two of them are for cars. I had two for cars. They were in two tournaments, one at Country Club, Louisiana, and then one up at East Ridge in Shreveport. That's kind of a cool thing.
I buried the lead there.
I've played with a lot of people who have more hole-in-ones, but the two for cars is kind of unique.
What kind of cars were these?
One was a little sports car, and ended up trading up. I had a family, so I got an SUV, and then the other one I took the cash. Yeah.
Sometimes when you win, you lose. I don't know.
No, you never lose when you win. You just say, give me the cash.
Well, let's end on that. Tommy, always appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Are you good for another year?
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Tommy Hodson, LSU football great. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you later.